Let's go in 3, 2, 1. All right. This is Junkyland, BrightView, Ohio edition. We are here with Alex from BrightView Rehab. Is this correct?
Well, we go with BrightView Health, but you know, rehab could work too.
Is rehab no longer in fashion, that word?
Just from my experience, most people think of that as like a long-term inpatient situation, and we do outpatient treatment. So it's like, it's a semantics issue, but I mean.
Do you guys do UAs?
I really hate acronyms.
Urine analysis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We collect a lot of pee.
That was I worked at a couple of rehabs, and that was my least favorite part of the job.
Yeah,
clients would often accuse me of taking too much pleasure in watching them pee. Which,
I'm lucky.
Yeah.
You know, and job descriptions are always weird, but I'm very grateful that has not yet fallen under the other duties as assigned for me.
Do you ever get a cup? Oh, I guess you haven't had to do it yet. Sometimes the cup is not clear if it tells you somebody's positive or not. Like there'll be two lines if they use this drug, and maybe it would have one clear line and one that was kind of faded, and it was always sort of borderline. And I just had to make a judgment call, and it would totally just depend on if I liked that client or not.
Well, I hope that worked out well. You're just like, you're talking about it, and I'm thinking like, is this like a pregnancy test? Like, what's going on?
So what do you do at BrightView?
My role is the community outreach coordinator. So basically how I explain that to people is that I go out in the community and make friends so that when they meet friends that might need treatment or might need some help, they call me first.
Okay. You make friends?
Yeah.
Okay, right on. And sort of coordinate a little like recovery fellowship and community.
Yeah, just trying to get out in the community. We did a really big event for Overdose Awareness Day. We did a big trunk or treat for our patients to come in and feel like they had a safe place to bring their kiddos. You know, just trying to be out there and get the word out. You know, sometimes it's meeting with physicians' offices or homeless shelters. Sometimes it's putting yard signs out or tear sheets in gas station bathrooms, you know, because you never know who's going to see it or who it might reach. So, but no pee cups. That's not, haven't had that one yet.
I would love to have a sign in my yard that advertises recreation for drug addicts instead of like my politician of choice. A sign that says we're having a party for drug addicts this Friday at my house.
Yeah, and then I can come pass out my cards and it'd be great.
So I've had a bunch of people on this podcast now, and this is like turning into a common theme, is folks who are trying to arrange like recreation and social events for people in recovery. This seems to be becoming more popular than just hitting up meetings now.
Yeah,
it's actually really putting an effort into making like a fun life with fun stuff to do.
Yeah, I think so for sure. My center actually I'm in Western Kentucky, but BrightView has like 46, I think, locations now in like the South and Southeast. So, you know, we've only been open since May, but I think that's something really important so that our patients come into our community, they feel safe, they feel loved, they feel respected, and then they're going out and they're telling their friends, hey, these people actually care. You know, it's like, let's go hang out with them instead of with these people that may not be the best influences in our lives. And that, like, the trunk or treat was huge. I'm like, COVID, life's weird, whatever. We might have 50 kids, and we had like 200 kids come through.
Wow.
It was fantastic. So any sort of like community or anything like that, that's something that I really strive to build. And then reaching out into places that aren't as like obvious, I guess, either, just because addiction affects a lot of people. It's not just necessarily, you know, the people that you look at the street and you just assume. You know, we have people that come in that have successful careers and have kids and have done well, and they found themselves in a tough situation and they're ready to make a change. So just trying to reduce the stigma and make the linkage so that, you know, when they're ready, we're here.
Yes. No, there's certainly a lot of successful addicts out there who are successful in other parts of their life. You know, I think what addicts do a lot is they run from whatever the moment is offering. And sometimes they take refuge in drugs, and sometimes they take refuge in their career. They take refuge in whatever they can that doesn't involve a connection. For whatever reason, connection seems to, that was certainly the case with me. And I think by providing connection, you're really getting to the core of, a big kind of underlying cause of what drives people to become addicts to begin with.
For sure.
It's not always perfect. Like, part of being in recovery and hanging out with other people in recovery is I have to spend a lot of time with Sam.
Yeah.
Which is,
oh,
look at him. Nah, like Sam's a solid dude. I gave me the blue mic because it represents freshness, and I gave Sam the yellow mic because it's the color of vomit.
Okay.
Yeah, I love him.
I'm just testing the waters with you, Alex. I want to see how
he really likes you, man. Like vomit Mike. Okay, yeah.
I can see that.
It doesn't smell like vomit though, does it?
No.
Oh, and you got a good whiff there. You're good.
So you were talking about what was I going to say? Oh yeah, here's what I was going to say. So I think the other thing about getting people together and showing them support and respect and these acts of care is, I know when I was in an active addiction, I really wanted to be the victim. I really wanted that. And it's hard to play the victim when so many people surrounding you are caring for you and supporting you and are saying, hey, we're rooting for you, we got your back. It's hard to keep telling yourself that lie of, I'm a scumbag, nobody likes me, I might as well use, when you're surrounded by people who got your back.
Yeah, and people say like you're the amalgamation of the 5 people that you're around most and all of those things, but sometimes you just need somebody there. I had another thought there. It might come back. It's gone.
Did you have a thought that left you?
It did. It might come back. It might not.
Happens to me all the time.
I might send you like a random email at like 2 a.m. like, oh, this is what I meant to say. Sorry. Got it. But especially someone that's in active addiction or somebody that's just starting their journey to recovery, it takes a long time to rewire your brain. So we do have to be patient with that. That victim mentality could be the result of a lot of different things that contributed to the addiction, not even the addiction itself. So just being there and being consistent and knowing that you have somewhere safe to go and people that care about you, it can make a huge, huge difference.
Yeah, totally. So Sam, who has 4 months sober, how much longer until it rewires his brain enough to where he contributes to the podcast?
Yeah, that I would like to know. Yeah.
You're doing a great job, Sam. You're doing a great job.
I monopolize. I tend to be a chatterbox. But so you guys gave me some talking points that look pretty interesting to touch base on. So one of them, well, first I want to talk more about you though, Alex, and we'll get to this because I'm curious. Are you if you don't mind my asking, are you in recovery?
I'm not.
Okay.
So that's nothing that I've experienced personally. I do have loved ones that struggle. I can't say that they're in recovery exactly, but I do wish that for them. I hope that for them and hope that I can be a resource and someone that can be on their support team. But I'm not personally.
Yeah. Is that what prompted you to get into this work, was the people in your lives that have struggled?
That was a big part of it. The last year, I can't say just for me, but for everybody has been insane. So I've moved around a couple of times in the last year, and I was looking for jobs in the area, and I'm in a small town, like super, super rural, like hardly anything going on. So when I looked at BrightView, I was like, I'll give it a try because I want to be in a field where I'm helping people. And once I got to kind of talk to the company and learn more about the culture and how much they really care and how patient focused it really is. And now I sound like a salesperson, sorry, but it really it made a huge impact. Everybody I talked to was so excited and like they've got data to back up their patient outcomes and stuff. And I had talking about rewiring your brain. I grew up, my dad was a prosecutor.
Oh, wow.
And he'd been a prosecutor in this small town for 30 some years. So he has a very punitive view, people on drugs are bad, they need to go to jail, all of those things. So I have learned so much, just in a short amount of time that I've been here and I've been with BrightView, and learning about people and their stories, and seeing people get jobs, get their kids back, be successful, see the light come back in their eyes. It is the coolest thing.
Yeah, it's a return to dignity is how I would summarize recovery.
Oh yeah, that's an awesome way to put it. I'm stealing that from you.
Hell yeah, right on.
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference when the people, as someone who's been to treatment a couple of times with staff who weren't necessarily passionate about the work itself, it makes a big difference for the people who are in treatment, when the people that they're working with are passionate about helping them to recover and having like a more nuanced knowledge.
Yeah, and just being kind and respectful. I mean, like, hello, golden rule, like we learned this in elementary school, like it still applies, and it should apply to every person, no matter what they've been through, what they're going through. You can't think less of someone because their mistakes are different than yours.
Well, that's a nice segue into one of the talking points that y'all emailed me about. Addiction is just it's just people who have no willpower. And I would say, using to pick up and use to begin with is a bad choice, but getting addicted is a different thing.
Yeah, no one makes the
decision. No one makes the decision. Like, when I'm going to try this drug, okay, now I hope I get hopelessly addicted to it.
Right, like nobody wakes up and says, I want to be addicted to methamphetamine today.
Yes, exactly. So your dad, has he come around at all on
a little bit?
Has he adjusted his attitude?
A little bit. He's retired. He's super old, so he's out of the system now. I've warmed him up to it a little bit, and now that I'm able to use that connection, because like I said, it is a small town, so I'm able to kind of build that rapport early on with attorneys and judges who normally wouldn't care to listen, but I'm able to say, hey, my dad, and they're like, oh man, I've at least got to listen to her for a minute. And then it kind of opens the door, it opens the conversation. Like, I had a lawyer the other day look at me and said, do you guys use that government heroin? And I'm like, whoa, buddy. Like, and this is a guy I've known for years. I'm like, this is going to be an ongoing educational opportunity.
I think a lot of people, why they have the attitude of just lock them up and treatment shouldn't be an option, is they think the addicts have to be accountable for what they've done. But treatment is where you learn about accountability. Yeah. It's not like you don't learn accountability when you go to treatment. You learn life skills and accountability and all of those things in treatment a lot better than you do getting locked up. Yeah. So, and it's not like locking them up. How can we deny at this point that the war on drugs has been just a catastrophic failure?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely has. It absolutely has. And, I'm going into some of the lawyers' offices and things now, and like people that I know saying, oh, well, I'm here to help you, and you don't want to make your buddy the jailer work. He doesn't want to see this guy again. Let us have a shot. And just trying to spin it in a different way, because especially the criminal justice system, you have to tell them a little bit of what they want to hear, or they're not going to listen. So you got to be able to say, like, put it in their terms. Like, you don't want to make your friend Mr. Smith the jailer have to do extra work, do you? Like, come on, give the guy a chance. Let him have a chance at recovery.
Manipulation can be a tool for good as well. No, it can.
Sure.
I don't know that it's manipulation so much, but my dad, again, being in politics, he said there's always an angle. So
okay, that was my joke. I was trying to justify my own manipulation. So why what is so intimidating about a judge's wooden mallet? Can we move on from this ancient technology and maybe give the judge something that commands, like maybe a strobe light or something?
I was thinking like a lightsaber might be cool.
Yeah, but we need something that's not fictional, okay, and not deadly, like maybe a flashbang grenade or something. I think we've come a long way since the wooden mallet.
Okay, yeah, you're
So,
talking about like
if your dad is a prosecutor,
yeah.
maybe he can, whisper in the judge's ear, hey, you don't have to put up with this wooden mallet anymore.
Unfortunately, my dad's a wooden mallet kind of guy, but if I make connections to somebody else, I'll pitch it.
Yeah. So, but that is cool that your dad is coming around a little bit. I mean, there's certainly a lot of work to be done in shifting attitudes, and you can't force anybody to have a different attitude. I feel like it's coming a long way, and unfortunately, and this is really sad, that one of the things that's driving the shift in attitude is the opioid epidemic is becoming so prevalent that everybody knows somebody who's affected at this point.
Absolutely.
When I started doing stand-up 11 years ago, I started doing stand-up right after I got clean. And I talked about my recovery and my act. And every once in a while, somebody would come up and tell me about a family or friend they have who's struggling. And now it's every show.
Yeah.
It's every show. Somebody comes up to me and says, my brother, my sister, my friend, or my parent. And I mean, and not just one person per show. That's what I get after every single show now. It is so, and I hate to see the shift in attitudes come from the opioid epidemic, that everybody knows somebody who's struggling now, but I think if that might be one silver lining in it, is that people are shifting.
You know, everybody had this not in my backyard mentality for the longest time. And I still do get that quite a bit, especially being in a more rural area. A lot of people think you can just pray it away, which, I think there's a place for that, but I don't want to talk too much about religion. I know that's not usually funny, but but especially
I worship
stuff. And
I talk about religion. I worship the four winds, and Sam worships the great hawk.
Yeah.
We got our religion from the movie Conan the Barbarian.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's been our higher power. And my God is all four winds: the north, south, the east, and the west, that rises above everybody else's higher powers, and really kind of asserts its windy dominance.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this now, Alex?
Well, I mean, 2021 feels like it's been 20 years, but I started in the spring of this year, so I'm still pretty fresh.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You seem so energized and fresh about it. You're excited about it.
I'm excited about helping people, and something that I do. And like you said, a lot of times it takes time to change attitudes. I want everyone I speak to have a positive experience, because even if they don't necessarily agree with treatment options or medication assisted treatment or a myriad of other things, as long as I leave that positive, that door's not closed. They might remember, oh, at least she was a nice girl. She knew what she was talking about, or she seems like somebody that I can trust, and eventually they might feel comfortable asking questions. They might feel comfortable sending someone. They might feel comfortable opening up and saying, I struggle, my mom struggles, my best friend, my husband, whatever it is, so I do try to stay happy, and eventually, I kind of look at it too. People either have to get on my level or it's going to be really awkward.
I think that's that's an awesome attitude to have, because I think recovery doesn't stick for a lot of people in active addiction the first time they go about getting clean too. So people remember, the positive experiences that they've had when they're,
Well, you also want to, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, what's the statistic on it? It's like, you have to hear 7 good things to combat 1 bad thing you heard.
Oh, is that true?
I don't know if the numbers are right. I'm bad at numbers, but like I saw it might have been on the internet somewhere. You'll have to fact check me, but somebody said it's like somebody can say 7 nice things to you, but it takes 7 nice things to make up for 1 mean thing that they said.
Okay, I gotta work it. Sam, I like your hair. I like your hat. I like the joke you have about the train. I like the way that you always jitter and shiver your legs all the time. I like how you pet your hair. Oh shoot, that's 5. Oh boy. I like your Adidas sweatshirt a lot. I think that's a really dope sweatshirt. Yeah, I'm into it. And that's 6. And your
hair seems pretty luscious.
He pets his hair. I complimented him on his hair. I don't
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I like that you're working such a strong program and you're doing so well.
There we go, dude.
That's my favorite one.
Alex, here's a question though. So do you, of course, you know, in your field, I worked at a couple of rehabs too. You know, as much as you want to be a positive force and you want to be a light in the room, boundaries are also very important.
For sure.
As well. And do you find it to be a struggle to not make too much of a connection sometimes with clients who are, their recovery is still very precarious, and you'll find yourself making a connection with people who go out and relapse. And I know this is really dark, but it's just the truth of the matter. And they don't always make it, and that takes a toll, you know?
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm not as much on the patient services side. You know, I'm more working with, you know, the referral or, you know, like I said, putting signs out and stuff. So I don't always see the people. But there have been a couple of patients in particular that I've grown kind of fond of, and they've struggled. They're going through a lot of other issues going on in their lives that definitely contribute to their addiction. And we haven't seen them in a while, but I hope they come back soon.
Yeah. So what do you say to people? This is touches on one of the subjects that you suggested in the email. I love all of the suggestions y'all sent, by the way.
Thanks.
When people are like, well, you know, I really feel like I need inpatient. I need to go away to rehab. What do you say to counter that?
It depends on who it is that says it. You know, it can go a lot of different ways. BrightView has done a lot of studies, and like they've got a bunch of data and a bunch of numbers, and numbers generally stress me out, but they've kind of looked at it and seen that outpatient or intensive outpatient can serve about 80% of the population, and they can be successful if they follow the protocols and stay engaged. So only about 20% of people actually will need like an inpatient rehab. But another one of the things that I like to talk about is that outpatient gives you the skills to cope with the environment you're in. You know, a lot of people go away for, you know, maybe a 14-day detox and think they're going to be cured, or it's a 30-day rehab, but you know, it might be a great program, but then you're dropped back in your home and in your life and around people that are potentially using. And have they given you the skills to cope with that situation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make a great point. There's a lot of facilities that are really centered around luxury treatment centers.
Yeah, dude, especially in Utah, that's a big thing where like people come from all over the country to go to places.
Oh yeah, and like you see it, and it's like a luxury resort, and I'm like, sign me up, but I can't afford to go.
No, I worked at one, and I talked about on the podcast that, you know, there's great people who worked there, and I think people who wanted to take advantage of what the program had to offer, you know, could do well. But, you know, there's really no need to go to rehab in a mansion on the beach. And that's not real life.
Right.
Either. You know, real life isn't having a private chef.
Yeah, for sure.
And having, it's like a vacation.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I went away to inpatient on 2 separate occasions, once in 2011 and once in the summer of 2020, and neither of those stints, one was for 30 days and the other was for 68 days, I think. But yeah, I didn't ultimately get sober because of the inpatient stuff. So.
Yeah, and it does help a lot of people. I don't want to take away from that, but I think people definitely still need continuing care, you know, and that's something that we work with a lot of inpatient rehabs. You know, as people are getting released, they want to have them come and follow up with us, so they're still getting that counseling groups and stuff like that, so they don't feel like, okay, I did rehab, I'm fixed, you know, and they still feel like there are resources there. So if they are struggling, or there are things they need to talk about or get through, or they want to see other people that are in the same situation and talk through it together, we can do that too.
And you're in Ohio. I know Ohio has been really hit hard by the opioid epidemic, harder than just about anywhere. Ohio and West Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania. But I read this book called Dreamland. Have you ever heard of it?
I've not.
Oh, it's great. It's sort of, I think, the best book about the opioid epidemic and what started it. And Dreamland was a town, Portsmouth, Ohio.
Okay.
That was really just decimated by the opioid epidemic. What has it been like to kind of witness it happening before your eyes, see it sort of sweeping through? And
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, and it's, there's so many things that contributed to this problem that we're in. I think the hardest thing to realize is that it took us a lot of time to get into this problem. It's going to take us a lot of time to get out.
Totally. Yeah.
So it's not going to be like an overnight fix. There's still a lot that needs to be done, and destigmatizing the issue. And, a lot of people got hooked on opioids from, having a surgery or having an injury or something like that. And they don't know how to function afterwards. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to go get high with my friends today, which, some people come to it that way too. And whatever, I don't care. You just need help, no matter how you found yourself in that situation, so that's really hard. And in my center in particular, I'd say opioids are probably our second most used substance behind methamphetamine.
Oh, is meth making a comeback?
Well, my hometown, you can look it up. There's actually an SNL skit about how much meth people do.
Oh, wow. What's the hometown?
I'm from Muhlenberg County.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's an yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People in Kentucky don't even know where it is, so I don't expect you to know.
Oh, it's Kentucky. Okay, not Ohio.
Yeah, I'm in Kentucky. Most of our centers are in Ohio. They branched out into Kentucky the last couple of years. And then we're looking at one of the Carolinas, I forget which, because geography. One of the Carolinas, we're in Delaware, Virginia, and looking at a couple others.
A friend of ours is a comedian from Kentucky, Christian Piper. Yeah, he weighs 400 pounds and he's a communist. And he's bald.
Neat.
And yeah, what else can we say about Christian?
I don't know Christian as well as you. He's what's the word? Finicky.
That's just for the people who know Christian on the podcast. Sorry about that, Alex.
Okay.
So,
no, I'll have to go look it up, and I'll find one of his shows and be like, yeah, I heard all about you from this Andy guy.
He's actually really funny. So do y'all offer kind of a detox?
Not necessarily. Since we do everything outpatient, we don't have like a detox program per se. We typically want people to be, depending on their drug of choice, 48 to 72 hours past their last use to be able to come in and kind of have a better idea of what their treatment plan will be.
Okay. So walk me through like what the outpatient experience is like at BrightView, like a day of outpatient treatment for a client at BrightView.
For sure. Well, I'll up the scenario a little bit. We take walk-ins until 3:00 every day. So don't even have to have an appointment. Somebody can decide, hey, I'm done, I'm ready. And they can just walk in the door, and they will be seen by our medical provider that day.
Nice. That's awesome. Because
yeah.
When I was in active addiction, I could see myself deciding today is the day. I walk in and they're like, well, you're gonna have to come back tomorrow, and I'm gonna change my mind.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that we're committed to. Our founder was actually an ER physician, so he was in the ER and like having people come in with overdoses and all kinds of stuff, and they're just handed a piece of paper like, okay, that's not exactly helpful. What can I do to make a difference for these people? And that's how we founded BrightView and really came into this. And one of the things was like, if you're turning someone away from treatment, even if it's just for a day, that's a day they could use and potentially overdose and pass away.
Yep.
So
totally.
That's something we're committed to. As big as we get, as many patients as we have, we're going to take walk-ins.
Go ahead.
I was just going to go on with like the day one experience, but if you had commentary on that, I'll take it.
No, not really. I was just going to talk about, you were talking about somebody going off and overdosing and what fentanyl has done to make overdoses skyrocket. Mm-hmm. I got clean in 2009 before fentanyl was really, hang on a second. Screen recording has stopped due to an active phone call. Oh, decline. Sorry, 1 second there.
You're good.
Redding, California. I want to decline it. Okay.
Welcome
Boy.
back.
Can you see me now? Okay, let me
I
start the
can.
screen recording again. Okay. Boy, that was a stupid feature. The screen recording stopped because I got some phone call.
It's probably just
Okay.
somebody wanting you to re-up your car's warranty.
I know, right? Okay, so, but I wonder, I doubt I would be alive if fentanyl were a thing, if it were a thing when I was using. What? It seems crazy to me that somebody, that people went out and invented something that's 10 times more powerful than morphine. You know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical expert or anything, but I don't know, like, why is there focus on making even more powerful opioids? I think we're squared away on the powerful opioids right now. I think I think we got powerful enough opioids. Like something that's dramatically more powerful than even heroin.
Yeah, that's insane. Fentanyl was my dad's drug of choice too, back in the day. But yeah, I think even in like popular culture right now, like there's a lot of kids who are like celebrities who are dropping off like flies because of stuff that's stamped with fentanyl and
and people don't even know, like it's scary enough to struggle with an addiction, but then to not even know what you could potentially be taking, it's terrifying.
Yeah, and they're putting in stuff that's not even opiates either. Mm-hmm. They're putting it in like methamphetamine. Yeah. So you say opiates are the second biggest thing after heroin.
For my center, at least. For my center.
Do you ever get people who maybe it's not necessarily a quote hard drug, but they need help with, say, that they just smoke too much weed?
Yeah, we say, we kind of advertise it as any chemical dependency, and I think everybody can benefit from therapy, Yeah,
it's crazy. Like recovery has given me so much education that I think anybody could benefit from, but I would never recommend preparation for that kind of education. Yeah. But there's so much cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy in the program, if that's your thing. Wisdom and insight that is taught in the recovery world that could be so beneficial for everybody. For sure. Like, how do we get some of these great life lessons out there to people who aren't necessarily in recovery? There should just be like I don't know.
Al-Anon for people who don't even have like friends and family who are addicted.
Like
or whatever.
12 steps for making it through life.
Yeah, that's it. The 12 steps of life. There you go. So is BrightView a 12-step centered program, or is it just
not necessarily? The individual
Yeah.
counseling, all of our stuff is pretty individualized. Back to like the first day conversation or whatever. Like somebody can walk in the door, they're going to see a counselor, a case manager, and the nurse practitioner or doctor, whoever they have at that particular office, day one. So I think that is super awesome. With the individual counseling, it is very individual based. We also do group, of course, because that peer support is super, super helpful in the process, because, my doctor can tell me something all day long, but if it's somebody that I'm close to or that I respect or that I know is going through something similar, they've got a lot more clout for me. So I think that's super important. So in the group, they often use the 12-step pieces, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a 12-step program. They just try to add as many tools to the toolbox as they can.
So do you like heroin addicts more or meth addicts? Who's more fun to treat?
I don't know that I personally here, I have not seen anybody do heroin, like going through patient lists or anything.
Really?
It's not super common, at least in this area.
Somebody needs to tell Kentucky it's not 1998. Yeah.
Well, Mark Twain said that whenever the world ends, I want to be in Kentucky because everything happens there 20 years later.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Mark Twain predicting that Kentucky would still be using meth in 2021.
Yeah. So I don't know that I have an opinion on who's more fun, just because I haven't, really seen I don't think, like I said, I don't think we have any patients that are using heroin, but I mean, if somebody's a good time, they're a good time, right?
No, I think there's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Heroin addicts are the best, then alcoholics, then cocaine addicts, then meth addicts.
Yeah, meth addicts are usually just asleep for the first couple weeks of their recovery.
Yeah. Well, here's a serious question though. So
Is it really going to be a serious question, or?
This is going to be an actual serious question. So when I was in active addiction, using was my whole life. It's all I cared about. It's all I wanted to do. So I had to make up all kinds of lies to tell people where I was at. People would be like, "Where were you all day?" I can't say I was out chasing heroin. So I had to make up stories, and this continued day after day for literally years. And I, like a lot of addicts, just became this pathological liar, to where I lied so much that it was almost, I don't know if I would call it habitual, but I took some sort of I don't know, refuge in the dishonesty and in the lies, because they became synonymous with the use itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the first things I got to work on when I got clean. And I actually found myself like having to tell people, I just lied to you. That wasn't true. How do you kind of cope with that? Some clients who I'm sure are just lying and lying and lying and lying. That's got to be tough.
I think you have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
You might know they're lying, but they might not be ready to come to terms with the truth yet. And
right.
And that's okay. Well, we're going to try to get you there. So I think you just kind of have to meet people where they are. And yeah, they might be lying to you, but if you call them out on it, they might not be willing to talk to you about it the next time, or not feel comfortable with you because they're not in that state where they're ready for that yet. So I don't want to say like we let people get away with things, or
but it's not as easy as just calling them out.
No, and I think there's a time where you have to spend some time building rapport, with the patient, because they might have been to other treatment programs. They might have been treated badly. They might have had a bad experience. They might be having withdrawal symptoms and they feel like god awful, so I think you've got to take a little bit of time just kind of getting to know that person and building that trust, because chances are they've been hurt by people in their lives too. So I think it's a process. I think the first few visits, it's usually a little more, okay, yeah, sure. Not like in a passive way, but just kind of trying to get more information about the situation. But I think our counselors do a great job of holding people accountable without being nasty about it. They're the kind of people that will do anything for you and help you with anything, but they want to see that you're at least going to try to help yourself too. They're not going to hold your hand, but they'll pick you up if you fall.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's a good way to put it. I like it. And it's a delicate line to walk. One of the treatment centers I was working at, there was a client who, holy cow, his lies were so out of control. He was just telling whoppers, just crazy lies about military service and about traveling, and that he was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, and just outlandish stuff that we all knew.
Really?
Yeah. Well, they got Mahomes now. They got Mahomes. Pretty good. Oh, are you not a Mahomes fan?
I pretend to be a football fan sometimes. My husband's a football guy, so I like the wings and nachos and the camaraderie. But I usually have no idea what's going on.
Kansas City Chiefs have been good the last couple of years. Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback. He's legit. But anyway, I was talking to this kid's therapist. I'm like, what do you do about just the avalanche of bullshit? Like, you can't talk to him. And she was saying he identifies with the lies at this point. Mm-hmm. That if you call him out on it, that's actually kind of his reality. It's not necessarily that he believes the lies. He knows it's bullshit, but the investment is so deep that you can't merely say, oh, you're lying, I caught you. It has to be, as you described him, it's kind of a progression, baby steps into getting to you know, getting
Yeah,
to
because it's a defense mechanism, and people don't take their defenses down right away. It takes
Yeah.
time. You know, people go through a lot of things, and people in addiction, they've been through a lot, they've seen a lot, you know. People have hurt them, the system has hurt them, whatever it is, and it's going to take
Yeah.
some time to get those walls down. And lying, like you said, it almost becomes a part of that protection mechanism. And that's human nature. Like, you don't want to be hurt, whether it's physical or emotional or whatever. So if you've been using that this long to protect yourself, and it's worked to some degree, it's going to take a while to get you to stop. And it's going to take a while for you to even be able to realize that, hey, this probably isn't a great idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But once they get to that point, man, is it a better way to live?
Oh, for sure.
Do you ever get people who might say, this is just so much work. This is going to be so much work getting clean. I don't know if I can handle how much work it's going to be.
Yeah, I know we have people say that, you know, for the most part, once people do come in and they start with us, and they see how much we actually care about them, you know, a lot of those feelings go away. But like, it is hard work. But like life in general too is hard work. Like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I want to go back to like kindergarten and have nap time. Like, I did not sign up for this. Being a grown-up is hard, and it is expensive, and nobody tells you that. You know, so everything is hard. You have to choose your hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it. You have to choose your hard. And, you know, even though being a grown-up and taking on responsibility is hard, I would say two things. Number one, it provides some meaning, which is great, and something that's absent in addiction. And also, I look back on it and I'm like, man, and I've talked about it on the podcast before, active addiction was way harder work than recovery. It was a 24/7 job.
Mm-hmm.
That was all I was doing from the time. Every waking hour was finding money and finding dope. Mm-hmm. And when you have no money, and you have to finagle money, and you have to steal, and you have to lie, and you have to make up bullshit to tell people where you were, it is a never-ending ordeal.
Yeah, I think
that's so much work.
Yeah, I think some people, depending on your personality type too, can get addicted to the chaos of that lifestyle as well. You know. Like
for sure. Because and you're addicted to that chaos, and you're addicted to running.
Yeah.
And in early recovery, things so sort of numb and muted. And it's a different feel. And you're trying to be present for 5 seconds. At a time. You know. So. That was a good piece of insight, Sammy.
Thank you.
We're up to 8 nice.
Good job.
Hey, Sam. Does me being condescending count as a mean thing or a nice thing?
We can count it as nice. We've got 5 more to go.
Hell yeah, dude. No. I only said the one mean thing, but I've said like 10 nice things now. Yeah. So Sam he's coming away with a positive self-esteem, I would say, after this podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if you've netted anything, but but you're working on it. You're cognizant of it. It's going to be okay.
But so what do you tell people? Do you believe like some people can use drugs recreationally? Like, I've known people who they can smoke weed occasionally, they can drink occasionally, you know. It's a weird one that even I haven't really figured out how to articulate yet, like why certain folks, addicts, just need to be abstinent from that stuff.
Yeah, and I think, and like, that probably is a lot of stuff like above my pay grade, and by pay grade, I mean, I'm not like a psychiatrist or like a neurologist.
When you come on this podcast, you're expected to just make stuff up.
Okay, great. So your brain does this thing, and then
okay, we can make some stuff up. So your brain has these things called gagawicks, okay, and the gagawicks bond to your neutrons, and when the neutron bonds with the gagawick, that creates something that's known as the neutrinsic phenomenon. That was discovered by Dr. Neutrinsic of Czechoslovakia in 1953.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
which,
1954.
maybe 54. Yeah, I'm a little spotty. It might be 1954. And this is what's called the Addicts Gene that they found, and it can be identified in a microscope. And it looks like a little blue worm with 3 eyes, and only drug addicts have it. And it's called the Fleischfeld worm. Yeah. So that's what it is.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. It's exactly it.
So will you guys put that on BrightView's website? On the
I'll have to. No, I'm gonna need you to draw me a couple diagrams, but we'll see if I can make that happen.
Yeah, I'll send you an animation.
Yeah, and like any credentials that you want to appear after your name on that, just let me know.
Yeah, it's something that I studied. Like I said, the doctor from the place mentioned it a little bit earlier. You know, it is something like the addict brain is. I don't know how I would describe it, and I don't know if I could prove that it's real if I had to. But I certainly learned the hard way that I'm one of these people that I just can't use recreationally. I can't use it. I just have to stay away. You know, it can't be normal.
And I think that's probably how most people feel, you know, but brains are weird. Brains are hella weird, and everybody's brain is different. So, I mean, who even knows what's going on in there?
Yeah, well, it is interesting because I've talked to a lot of people on the program who say that like they were able to moderate their use for the first like year or two, like people who were drinking in college and were able to do it here and there. And then like when they crossed like sort of a certain threshold, like when they drank too many days in a row for a certain period of time for the first time, then they kind of like couldn't go back to casual use, you know? And then I've spoken with other people too who kind of just from the first time they drank or used drugs or whatever it was, they felt like they were at least emotionally hooked on some level and never could.
Yeah, I mean,
moderate it.
I certainly was. When I was a kid and I started smoking weed and drinking, I couldn't understand why my friends didn't love it as much as I did.
Yeah,
I'd be like, don't you understand what we have here?
Yeah.
Like this booze and this pot it makes you feel the way that you want to feel in life without having to do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you're not doing your homework, you're not worrying about your future, you're not doing any of that. But who cares? You do all of that to feel good, and this will make you feel good.
Yeah.
You know,
what was it? The flagella worm?
Yeah. The flagella worm, discovered by Dr. Krasniewicz in Czechoslovakia in 1951 or 1954. And that forms when the neurowagon forms with it bonds with your gigawatt. Yeah, and it only happens to add it.
Yeah. I'm selling the cure for all of this, by the way, on my Etsy store.
Yeah, there's an Etsy oil called Tonight.
Yeah,
that's named after Sam that cures addiction. Yeah. I'm glad we're getting this podcast in while we can, because BrightView is most likely, along with every other treatment center, going to go out of business as soon as Sam gets his Samsonite Etsy out there.
Hypothetically, I'd love to be out of a job. You know, if it did work, I wish like it wasn't an issue, but until it's not, you know, I'm happy to be there for people. I'm happy that BrightView's there for people. I'm happy that there are other providers out there, you know, because as long as people are getting the help they need, I mean, I'm happy for them.
So do y'all take insurance, or how does that?
Oh yeah. That was another thing too, is that there are so many barriers to seeking treatment already. Why would we add more? Totally. The will, family, transportation, especially like in these small towns, like it is so hard to get people back and forth. We don't have a lot of public transportation in some of our areas. So that's a huge one, but we're not going to let someone's financial ability to pay be the reason they can't get clean and have a great life. So we'll take any insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, VA. I say any insurance. Insurance companies are weird. Somebody could come out with some policy tomorrow and be like, we're not gonna let you take our insurance. Cool, whatever, corporate America. Yeah. But as of right now, I don't know that there's an insurance policy we've encountered that we won't accept. Some people self-pay on a sliding scale, and we do have like a foundation arm that's like a nonprofit piece that can help people cover some expenses if they need to.
Right on. When I was working in treatment, sometimes the insurance companies, this never made sense to me. They got to be the ones who decided if the client needed more treatment or less treatment.
Yeah, dude.
And what the hell is going on with that? And sometimes we would have to, frankly, kind of manipulate the data that we put in, because we knew this client needed to stay in treatment longer. Because if we said they're doing great, they're making progress, then Geico or whoever would be like, well, they're done. You know, they don't need anything more.
Yeah. And I kind of look at everything in my life like this too. It's like getting to be great or getting to be successful isn't the hard part. It's staying that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything to say on that one, Sam?
As someone who's massively successful and has been for a long time now, I would agree.
Yeah. So what did you do before getting into this business, Alex?
I've done a lot of different things. I've always kind of been in a helping capacity, probably doing something similar, business development, did some nonprofit work, did a lot of work with the elderly, senior citizens and stuff, and volunteer time when I can. I do community theater.
Ooh, oh boy, no wonder they chose you for the podcast.
Well, I didn't even sign up. My coworker Amy was like, oh, I guess she's funny. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. I'm like, oh my God, you think I'm funny?
What did you get to play in community theater?
Oh, I've been doing it since I was like 13. So I've done all kinds of stuff.
What's been your favorite role?
It's hard to say. We just finished up a Halloween comedy that was like a weird comedy spin on Dracula. And it's probably one of my favorite shows that I've done, not necessarily for the character. Well, one, because it was funny. Two, because my husband was also in it with me. And he got a lobotomy in the first scene and could only say one line the whole time.
Oh, okay. Sam and I are putting on a community theater play. We're redoing Robo. Actually, yeah. He and I are doing a live performance recreation of a RoboCop at the comedy club here, Wise Guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam, you seem so excited.
Yeah. I'm doing all the choreography, so the burden of most of the work is falling on my shoulders.
Sam gets to be Ed 209.
Yeah.
and he gets to be the senior guy of OPT who got killed by the grenade.
Okay.
And
you all are originating these roles, I assume?
Yeah, it's a live recreation of RoboCop, but with a Shakespearean dialogue. We're rewriting it to make the dialogue poetry.
Okay,
so,
great.
Yeah. Instead of being like your move, creep, I'll be like, moveth and creepeth now, hour to hour.
Yeah.
Oh, piece of shit. Yeah,
it's pretty ballet heavy too.
Okay.
We've really, our new drug of choice is the arts. And
I hope you find a great niche audience for that production.
Sold out. We got 10 shows. We're gonna run all week at Wise Guys. Every show sold out, $45 ticket. We're getting merchandise made, and we've already netted like that $30,000. So yeah, RoboCop El Pastor.
El Pastor. Okay. Well, now I'm just gonna think about tacos all day.
Hey, question. I love that we're doing this content collaboration thing. I was surprised when y'all reached out to me. It was Avante who reached out to me. Did you hear this podcast before or something like that? Is that how y'all found out about this?
I have no idea. They just we had a department-wide retreat in early October, and they're like, hey, we found this guy that does podcasts and they're comedy. Who wants to do it? And everybody else is like, not me. And like, I kind of thought about it. My husband wants to do stand-up comedy. I kind of thought about it, but whatever. And then Amy signed me up. And like I said, I'm like, oh my God, people think I'm funny. And I like attention. So.
Well, if you like attention, that's the thing for you. Your husband wants to try comedy though, eh?
He's thinking about it.
What's his name?
Tanner.
Okay. Well, the only tip is just to do it. You want to do it.
He's thought out about it and stuff, but I'm secretly thinking, but also he doesn't think I'm funny at all.
Oh.
And I said that to somebody once and he's like, yeah, they don't have to live with this idiot. I'm like, thanks, honey, love you too. But in my mind, it's going to be like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, where like, the husband goes and does it and he bombs everything. And then I go and do it. And then I'm super successful. And then I'm going to feel bad because he said, yeah. So I don't know.
If I ever get married, I'm going to have fantasies where I make my spouse jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm better at what she wants to be good at.
Mm-hmm.
There's this classic movie called Funny Farm with the great Chevy Chase, where he was an author and he wrote this terrible book about gangsters, and he asked his wife to review it, and she said it was so bad that he should burn it. It was so terrible. Meanwhile, she was writing a children's book about squirrels that was a masterpiece. And Chevy Chase recognized her book to be way, way better, and he submitted it to a publishing house, okay? And the publishers called his home, and she answered instead of him. And they were like, hey, is your husband home? And she's like, no, but I can take a message. And they said, we just want to let him know that his book is wonderful. We're so happy with it. We're going to publish it. And she's like, oh, great, the gangster book. And he's like, no, this book is about squirrels. And she realized that Chevy Chase turned in her children's book. Yeah. And I think that character could benefit from some honesty training at BrightView.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like the technical phrase I'm supposed to say is that you have to have an underlying substance use disorder, but
we could get him addicted. Yeah. Have you ever met somebody who needs so much personal help that it's like, I should get this person addicted to something so they can benefit from the treatment of substance abuse treatment?
No, I haven't. But people say the weirdest things to me when I'm out, because a lot of people, like I've had somebody in a faith-based program once tell me that we're spreading lies in against the Lord because we can offer certain treatments and stuff, and they can't fellowship with us. Like I go out, like crazy stuff. Go out and like I give out cards at food banks and stuff. And I just say, hey, I'm with BrightView, trying to get the word out there. If you know anybody that might be struggling or might need some help, I'd appreciate you passing this on. And some people are like, oh yeah, like all 5 of my cousins, or yeah, I think I know somebody. Some people are like, no. And some people are like, oh yeah, me, I'm addicted to coffee.
Totally. Yeah. Well, we're coming up on an hour. Alex, you were a really good sport for doing this.
Thank you.
I know some of the stuff we said, you left a look on your face like, what in the shit have I gotten myself into? But I think it was great.
Thanks. I had a good time.
What you're doing is great. I'm super glad people like you are out there. Mm-hmm. I think, the treatment world and the recovery world needs a lot of people in recovery, but then also a lot of people who aren't in recovery, such as yourself too, to show them that, there's plenty of normal people out there who, even though they haven't been through it and they might not understand what it's like to be addicted, they care and they want to help. And I think that's absolutely huge.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to call myself normal, but yeah, we definitely do care.
You're the most normal person I've ever met in my whole life. Nobody's ever been as normal as you.
Oh, now I'm offended.
You should change your name to Normal Normieson, the Normster from Normalville on planet Normtron.
Is that where the flagella worms originated? I don't know. I can't keep up.
It's real irony because addicts call normal people normies, and our addiction worm originated on the normal planet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Alex, we like to keep it about an hour here on Junkyland, and that was awesome.